A very good afternoon to all brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. So today is Sunday. We are going to continue our sharing from this Surangama Sutra. As usual, we will be having our physical puja, followed by the chanting. Let us compose our mind, develop the faith, saddha, virya, then mindfully we shall commence the puja chanting. Namo 本师释迦牟尼佛，南无本师释迦牟尼佛，南无本师释迦牟尼佛，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨。南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无弥勒佛，南无弥勒佛，南无弥勒佛，南无普贤菩萨，南无普贤菩萨，南无普贤菩萨，南无文殊菩萨，南无文殊菩萨，南无文殊菩萨。南无地藏王菩萨，南无地藏王菩萨，南无地藏王菩萨，南无药师佛，南无药师佛，南无药师佛，南无佛菩萨，南无佛菩萨，南无佛菩萨。อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวะพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนัมมัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะบุตตังสรณังกัจฉามิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิดุติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิดุติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิดุติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิตติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิอาทินาทานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิกาเมสุมิจฉาจาระเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิมุสาวาทาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิสุราเมรยามัจจปมาดัตตานะเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิสาธุสาธุสาธุ Okay, let's pay respect to Puja. Pedang Pujemi Dhammang Pujemi Sanghang Pujemi. Invocation to the Devas. in this universe in their entirety. Let the deities and devas come here. Let them hear the good teachings of the King of Sages, which gives heaven and release Nibbana. This is the time to listen to the teaching. This is the time to listen to the teaching. This is the time to listen to the teaching. Samanta Chakawalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddammang Muni Rajasa Sunantu Sakamokadang Dhamma Sapanan Kalo Ayang Padanta Dhamma Sapanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhamma Sapanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti peso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Vijacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu Anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manusana Buddho Bhagavati Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipaseko Opanaiko Pachyatang Veditabo Vinohiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Samicipatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yadidang Cattari Purisa Yukani Atta Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakkeneyo Anjali Karaneyo Anuttarang Punyang Ketang Lokasati Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu. Okay, we will now continue from where we stopped. I think we are at page the Romanized 28, last paragraph. Okay, so we were at this section. The reason for the Surangama Sutra teaching. We have finished the first to the third. Now is the fourth. Okay, as a revision, maybe I just read through the first three briefly. Okay, the first one is the understanding that this Surangama Sutta need to develop the balance between Dhamma understanding and practice or cultivation. So the first is on the importance of balancing the learning or the teaching and putting it into practice, means pariyatti and patipatti. So Ananda was considered to have the keenest memory of all the Buddha's disciples, but he made the false assumption that he could rely solely on his memory, or what they call knowledge, and his special relationship with the Buddha. As a result, he neglected his cultivation. Consequently, he did not develop sufficient samadhi to ward off the spell that the condition cast on him. So the problem with Dhamma knowledge is, or the only learning of the teaching under pariyatti is, you may understand something at the knowledge level, maybe at the superficial theoretical Dhamma, but you have not developed the cultivation, you cannot decipher the wisdom, you cannot develop the insight into phenomena, the universal characteristics to awaken. And without that, your wisdom is not stable. You cannot overcome a lot of things, because the real samadhi needs wisdom. Samadhi is the initial stage of mind. It's collected, unwavering. But you have to use that samadhi to develop the penetrative wisdom, to insight into phenomena, to see things as they are, to develop the understanding of life, Dhamma and phenomena, to see clearly the dwelling, paticca samuppada, and also the karma niyama, means how all these phenomena will arise and pass away following the karmic process, and also following citta niyama, the law of mind. Then finally is when you can see things as they are, you understand how nature develops the movement, means you understand Dhamma niyama, truth within nature. So when this wisdom arises, then it will help you to develop upekkha. Upekkha is the equanimous mind born of wisdom, not only samadhi alone. Because that samadhi without wisdom is a conditioned state, conditioned mind, and that one can still have problem when you encounter a situation. That's why the first warning is, the reason is, a lot of people fail to understand that pariyatti and patipatti both also need to be cultivated. Not only the learning of the teaching of the sutta, but after you have learned it, you have to put it into practice. Then the second part, go back to the notes. The second part is about those who believe they are enlightened, but they are not. So these are called the danger of being a charlatans. Charlatans are those who are not real enlightened beings, who pose as teacher, and whose wrong view are a consequence of their own defilement, their own delusion. So the sutta condemns self-described spiritual leader who brag of advanced spiritual accomplishment and who violates the rules of moral behavior. So this sila part, morality, is very important. The rule of moral behavior. So the Buddha warned against such people in 3 places in the text. In part 7, part 9, 3b, in which he discussed purity, mainly about the sila part. And in part 10, in which he described the demonic state, the 50 Devan Samadhi or demonic state associated with the five aggregate, which is basically what the Surangama Sutra's main instruction is all about. Well, in this part 10, the Buddha really described all the 50 Divan Samadhis. These are mind state born of concentration, energy field of samatha manifestation, and they can be very, very amazingly fantastic meditation. That's why when you develop some type of phenomenal meditative experience, please do not be gullible. Do not grasp and cling on to it and believe that you have achieved, you have realized. Because the only thing that frees the mind is wisdom, not all the fantastic samadhi, not all the psychic ability and impressive meditative experiences. Then the third one is most important. The third reason for it is because most people, most living beings, even human beings or cultivator, they cannot distinguish between the two minds, the true mind and the mundane mind. So here it is described. The third one is the need for a proper understanding of the difference between one's true mind and one's discriminating mind, or discriminating mundane mind. Because without wisdom, you will develop the discrimination or the duality. Since this understanding is a prerequisite for right cultivation, since what people generally consider to be their mind is not their true mind, this is where the danger is. That's why Surangama Sutra need to be taught, so that it can root out that delusion that has actually caused all the sakayaditi and ignorance to manifest within living beings' mind. So ability to distinguish between the true mind and the mundane discriminating mind is a prerequisite for right cultivation. And to overcome that misconception, the early portion of the sutta systematically exposed wrong presupposition about the mind in order to reveal the nature of the true mind. Because this mundane mind that create mundane perception, and before one develop the awakening or realization, they will develop what they call wrong perception, born of self-delusion and ignorant avijja. So that is basically the main reason, or we call it the most important reason. And here is listed as the third reason for this sutta. And now we go back to today's sharing. The fourth is that correct understanding must be followed by meditative practice or cultivation that is grounded on the true mind. This is the same as Hui Ning's teaching. That's why Hui Ning, or the sixth patriarch, he reminded the student before his parinibbana, his last sharing with the disciple. He told them, whatever teaching that does not arise from the true mind is not the true teaching. That's why you need to realize that pure awareness nature, the true mind. Stabilize it, understand it clearly. Then only you can develop the real wisdom. So here, the fourth is that correct understanding must be followed by meditative practice that is grounded in the true mind. Means you must always stay with the true mind. Observe from the true mind. Silently investigate through silent observation of what is. That is what pure awareness meditation is all about. When you completely silent, without thought, that is your true mind. From there, you can see things as they are. No word, nothing, no delusion. Then you develop all the understanding and the awakening. Then you can see things as they are. How the mundane mind, through sakkayaditthi, self-delusion, stir, react, and create the false perception, creates the duality that conditions suffering. And this is how living beings fall. So this part is very important. Once we commit ourselves to follow a path to awakening, we need to learn the cultivation necessary to make progress. This includes learning the proper cultivation or meditation. Move it up. Here they say technique. Choosing those meditation practices of cultivation that are grounded in our deepest being, means our true mind, and avoid meditation practices that will not lead to full awakening. Then in the words of Venerable Xuan Hua, before I read that, I want you all to develop further understanding, which I have been stressing all these years when I started teaching. I always come out with a statement: method and technique are just instruction to do things. It has nothing to do with the meditation. These are only skillful means to actually train your mind to develop sati so that you can stabilize it, to be ever mindful. Then use it to cultivate the meditation as taught by the Buddha. Then you become heedful. What is heedfulness? The constantly meditative and ever mindful. If you keep to these two practices steadfastly, you will realize the supreme, born-free Nibbana. So that is the reason why you need to always remember that heedfulness is the path to the deathless. The heedful never die. Whereas heedlessness is the path to the dead. So when you understand that the basis of proper meditative training has actually nothing to do with the methods and the technique. But method and technique for people who don't understand are important to train their mind. Just like in the early years, I share with you all the mind sweeping method, which is also an instruction to decondition your heedless thinking, to train your mind to be aware, to be at the location you want it to be. That's why I say, relax, maintain awareness, then silence everything. Then put your attention at your forehead. Then you feel. Then relax into it. So the feeling and relaxation doesn't involve thought process. Then when you feel whatever activity that goes on, if there is any tension, any tightness or any stress within, you relax into it. Relaxation is number one, most important and key to stop the thinking. If you cannot relax, you will react and stir the mind and cause the discriminative mundane mind to move based on wrong views, based on your wrong understanding of the way things are, your curiosity, wanting to know, wanting to experience. Then through curiosity, you think. Then you come out with analysis, with views, opinion, conditioning, and ideology. These are all mundane activity, sankhara activity, that stir the mind and make it heedless. It cannot enable you to see things as they are. So understanding this is very important. So whatever method and technique is just a training. So what you need to understand is, the moment you are without thought, you're already aware. Then stabilize the awareness. When you can stabilize the inner awareness, means it will lead to the realization of the true mind. When the true mind is realized, that is the basis of awareness-based meditation. From there, like Huineng's first Homage, you must realize the mind that is without thought, 无念的境界. So no thought means no thinking. That is your pure awareness nature. That's why 无念就是真心. That is the meaning. So when you realize that, then from there you start. And to start from there, you need to train your mind to be aware, then stabilize it. That's why the four support are very important. Relax, maintain awareness, don't try to know, don't try to do anything, so that you don't create the unnecessary thinking. The one that try to know, try to do or meditate is always the thought. If that one is not active, because you just relax into whatever mind state that arises and let things be. Whatever arises, maintain awareness. Aware, finish. Aware, finish. That's how you start. Okay? Then if you are still dependent on the method technique that can train your mind as a skillful means to develop sati or mindfulness, no harm for you to continue with that. But ultimately you must understand, when mindfulness develops, you must stabilize it. Mindfulness is without thought, away. Like anapanasati, breathing in, away. Breathing out, away. Kayanupassana, any action, movement, activity, means awareness and the phenomena move as one in perfect harmony and synchrony without thought. That is what awareness-based meditation is all about. Not about focusing, concentrating, developing energy field, and developing all the, what they call external practices that leads to psychic manifestation. Okay, we go back to the notes, so that now I read, you understand. Okay, the fourth one. Okay, we finish this. Okay, then we see what Master Hsuan Hua is trying to explain. Because Master Hsuan Hua already, you bring down a bit, see. Okay. You see, all the various method and technique, choosing those meditation, cultivation or practices that are grounded in our deepest being, means grounded in your pure awareness nature, in your true mind, and avoiding meditation practice that will not lead to full awakening, means whatever that doesn't develop sati and stabilizing it to become ever mindful, that is not the meditation as taught by the Buddha. And finally, with that sati develop, if it does not develop or lead you back to the cultivation of the Noble Eightfold Path, to realize the enlightenment as taught by the Buddha, and that is also not the meditation as taught by the Buddha. So according to Venerable Hsuan Hua, there are many gateways to the Dhamma, to the practice or cultivation of samadhi. And there are other samadhis not taught in Buddhism. But in cultivating samadhi, If you begin in a direction that is wrong, even by the weave of a hair, you will end up missing your target by 1,000 miles. This is true. This is not an exaggeration. Because if you develop thought-based meditation, you cannot realize the Dhamma that is beyond thought, beyond mind. So thought-based meditation is energy field, verbalization, focusing, concentration. So all this has nothing to do with sati, awareness. That's why it will lead to improper cultivation. Therefore, it's necessary to cultivate the proper samadhi, which is not concentrated, collected and unwavering, stable mind. Means you stabilize the pure awareness nature until it is in the state of samadhi. The reason being because they work among the branches rather than applying themselves at the roots. They work on this body, which is a false shell. They take the ordinary thinking mind or mundane mind, which is basically the sixth consciousness, perception, to be the true mind. This is where sensu also go wrong. As a result, their practice or cultivation give them a little bit of experience of stillness. But what they experience is not genuine tranquility and stillness, a free mind without thought. They force themselves to keep their thoughts from arising. You remember? Suppressing their thought. Through what? Through energy field, one-pointedness. Everything focused at one point. Yeah. Or continuous samadhi, continuous mindfulness. Then that one is without real mindfulness. It's like the mindfulness has become continuous until it's like samatha. Yeah. They went into apana samadhi. Then I read on. They force themselves to keep their thought from arising, but they haven't dug out or root out the deluded thinking. Means their self-delusion, avijja. So they can't put an end to birth and death, but there is still ignorance, especially sakkayaditthi. It is like trying to stop grass from growing by placing a rock on it. When the rock is removed, the grass grows right back. So this is like the Buddha's analogy. He gave the analogy of a cup of water, clear water. Then if you leave the cup of clear water to allow it to settle down long enough, then the water appears clear because the sediment they settle down and they are not filtered out or rooted out. So those who do samatha meditation, or what they call concentration or one-pointedness, they end up the same. They didn't develop the wisdom to root out self-delusion, sakkayaditthi and ignorance. And because of that, when they are under the jhanic state of mind, there are 5 mental, we call it the opposite of spiritual faculty is mental hindrances. They are still not rooted out. So the mental hindrance that can hinder their mind from entering the meditative state means the pure samadhi, which is a free mind without thought. That one they have not developed. So they need a conditioned mind to keep them in the state of samatha so that they have no thought. But the moment they loses the ability to do that repetitive type of jhanic training, jhana, especially after they grow old or when they lose their ability to focus and concentrate, then they will lose their psychic ability and they become miserable. Then they have doubt, there is fear, then the mental hindrance starts to surface. Yeah. Especially sensual desire, you will if you don't keep your moral principle intact. That's why morality is very important. Without wisdom, you cannot stay intact with your morality. You need the wisdom. Yeah. And the other one is, without the real cultivation to awaken the wisdom and to stabilize it, you also cannot root out the defilement or the mental hindrance. So, as long as the mental hindrance are there, you are still not awakened. It's like they are suppressed. So when those conditions that create the jhanic experience or jhanic state no more, they become like vulnerable again. And they become like easily irritated. Doubt start to arise. Then they start to have fear, worry, anxiety. Why last time when I was in the jhanic state, I got no problem with all this. Now, as they age, the reality of life and existence sets in. But because they haven't break free from Sakayaditi, they still believe that form and mind, that five aggregate, is what they are. So they worry about the body getting old, getting sick, and finally die. Then the mind, with the mental hindrance, also cannot free. That's why with all those haunting them, they become miserable. Okay, we go back to the notes. Now we will develop the discussion of what Xianhua actually wrote. So he said it's like the grass. You put a stone, there is no condition for it to continue to nourish itself and grow. That's why there is a famous saying, the grass, about the grass, 春风吹又生. So when the rock no longer covered and like suppress the sunlight from going in, then this grass will develop the causes and conditions for it to nourish again. Then you have not rooted it out. So defilement is the same. The mental defilement, which are mainly the five mental hindrances, they are the same. So without the stability of spiritual faculty to counter it, that's why you need to train and develop the spiritual faculty until it's unshakable, until it becomes ballast or power. Then only you can root it out. And to develop it into spiritual power, you must have the wisdom. Without the wisdom, you can't. Especially when your sati and samadhi has stabilized and become so stable, then you can see things as they are. Then panya, the wisdom, awaken. Then with this, sensual desire and ill will cannot come in. Doubt, restlessness also cannot come in. And sloth and torpor also cannot, because with your faith developed, the virya is very strong. So the spiritual faculty of sati and samadhi can lead to the wisdom that allow you to break free from the five mental hindrance. And when that happens, only the cultivator can root out the mental hindrance that condition all this heedless thinking, mundane thinking, mundane deluded entanglement, leading to all the affliction and suffering. So all this is very clear. Then we move on to number 5. The fifth reason is that in order to cultivate meditation correctly, one must know how to get rid of distortion in one's mental process. What is this mental process? Yeah? By now you should know that. Yeah? Your thought process. So this distortion in one's mental process means sankhara. Understand? The thought content, the content of consciousness, they are distorted by what? By your wrong view, by your conditioned mind, by your views, opinion, conditioning and belief system. So all this create distorted mental processes, and this leads to what they call wrong perception. That's why without wisdom, whatever you do can never be right. So when your view is wrong, your thought is wrong. And when your thought is wrong, your mental intention, that condition, action, speech and thought process will all go wrong. That's why Noble Eightfold Path starts with right view, most powerful. When you have wisdom to develop the right understanding of nature's law that governs life and existence, means the three spiritual laws of karma niyama, chitta niyama, and dhamma niyama, then you have right view. Then you do not stir, you do not create distorted thinking, distorted views and opinion of things that you perceive through your senses. So this is the main emphasis in this fifth reason, where most people practice meditation wrongly. And to cultivate it correctly, one must know how to get rid of this distortion in one's mental process. Means proper meditation technique to train one's mind in sati, then stabilizing it is very important. Once you have developed the understanding, means you must make use of it to systematically eliminate both the coarse and the subtle cognitive process that are obstacle to progress on the path to enlightenment. Why are these obstacles? Because this initially is a very gross defilement. Then later on, this defilement come in through the back door. That's why Shenhua call it the subtle cognitive processes. He will try to justify and tell you a lot of things. Then again you rely on the thought. Because these are very subtle defilements. You remember under the 10, they call it fetters that bound living beings to samsara. The last 3, they are very subtle actually. Minor conceit. You know what is minor conceit? You feel like you have already realized. True, they have the sainthood way. I am no longer a putujana. You see, at that stage, even anagami is still not free from that. The last 5 fetters, the anagami still cannot break free until they realize arahantaship. So to realize arahantaship, you need to break free from the 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 fetters. So what is the 6 and 7? These are for those who do jhana. Means the fetters that cause them to attach to the form jhana and the formless jhana. And these two, for those who do thought-based samatha, very difficult for them to relinquish it. Because to them it's so important. And And a lot who do until that stage believe these are ultimate state where you can get rebirth in the Brahma rhyme and the four formless rhyme. And they live very long. So to break that, not easy. Even the last two teachers of Sakyamuni, Alara and Uddaka, they are stuck in the formless rhyme. That's why it's not easy. Then after you break that one, minor conceit also take a while to root out. Minor conceit means the thought, which is so subtle at that time, still have that thought. No, I know Sotapan, beyond it is Sakadagami. Then hit Anagami, you're already Anagami. So the minor conceit. These people are still Putujana. They cannot understand. They cannot comprehend. So that minor conceit will stay there. Then for no reason, because they have not rooted out this so-called avijja, the complete understanding. So sometimes, for no reason, the mundane might become restless, which a lot of cultivators who do samatha or one-pointedness, even those who continuously use the chanting to keep on to the mantra, like the very famous one that they do in Thailand is Buddho, 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 means recall the Buddha. And they use this like a chanting, like Maya chanting. Amitofo, Amitofo. But if you understand, you can break free. Because the faith in the Buddha, together with their vow, the great being's vow, this becomes spiritual faculty instead of constantly, repetitively, mechanically use that chanting to develop the Appana Samadhi. And then you can get into problem. So during that time, I remember, if you go and read Ajahn Mahaboha's book, he actually confessed it. He said he trained until his mind cannot run really. He has complete control. Then the samadhi or sati is so stable. Then later on, for no reason, his mind become restless. No matter what he do, even all the Buddha, is still restless. It cannot calm down, cannot stable. Because that free mind, which is without the conditioned state, need wisdom to stay silent, to stay liberated. So luckily he met Achaman according to what is written. Then he revert back to daily mindfulness, sati, and develop the understanding. That's why it's not easy. So now we go back, systematically eliminating the cause and the subtle cognitive process that are obstacle towards the path of enlightenment. Those mental activities are often likened to dust on the mirror of our true mind. So this description is very interesting, like dust on the mirror of our true mind. So the sutra exhorts us to make a commitment to purify our mind. So mirror on our true mind means what? Our true mind is just pure awareness, is it? True or not? Can follow? And what are dust? Defilement, isn't it? Like Shen Xiu. His first poem is what? He thought the mundane mind is the true mind. He said our body is like a bohi tree, isn't it? Then the mind is like a mirror on a stand, isn't it? Then he thought that mirror that reflects is the true mind. That is the mundane mind through the perception and all things. Then he know there are defilement, there are dust. That's why he said, polish until it shines so that no dust can alight. So what is he trying to do? Huh? The wrong thought in there, the wrong view in there. Because who created defilement? Huh? Who created defilement? Thought, yes. We are Sakayaditi, wrong thought. So duality is what? Imas means sati idang hoti. Imas means asati idang arhoti. When this arise, that arise. When you arise, the thought. That in practice there is right thought and wrong thought. Wholesome and unwholesome. Then defilement and non-defilement. So you think the dust that you create is a defilement. You want to polish that mind until it shines so that no dust can alight. But the delusion behind is who created this duality? The thought. And the thought that created duality, you want to get rid of what it created. Understand now? Because the Buddha already said, when this arise, that will arise. Understand now? Then, imas means asati idang narpoti. Means what? When this ceases, that also ceases. Means, don't create. Understand now? The mundane mind and the true mind are two different things. Understand now? The true mind see things as they are. But the moment you attach, cling, and entangle and give meaning, you are finished. Understand now? That's how you create through your sankara activity. You react and stir your mind through your views, opinion, and conditioning. But the true mind has got no word, nothing, no duality, nothing. But you fail to see that and recognize that because all the time you are using that mundane, discriminative mind with your views, opinion, condition, and beliefs, born of what? Memory, knowledge. That is the one that creates delusion, leading to affliction. So see this, understand this, and you will awaken. So that statement is very good. It's like there are dust on your true mind. Your true mind got nothing. Like Hui Neng, his counter poem is what? 本来无一物，何处惹尘埃? Means what? Originally there was nothing. Understand? Where can the dust alight? You don't go and hold on to that mind and believe that it is something. That's why I always explain to you all, this true mind, the pure awareness nature, is not a being, understand? It cannot come out and live life. It got no words, no duality, nothing inside there. You cannot even talk about it or describe it. It's just an awareness nature, a nature inside there. Pure. That is incapable of manifestation. Cannot come out and live life and do anything. But that one can see very clearly. All the movement activity, from here it arises and creates this. When you see this, then you realize this third circle, which is the 5 aggregate of form and mind, which is your senses together with the sense data and the consciousness that manifests the phenomenal world of consciousness, this one is a creation from the true mind. And this creation comes from avijja, ignorance, the karmic process. That's why you have to see this and realize all these are not real. The unreality of form and mind. Then you penetrate, then you cease. That is what the Surangama Sutra is trying to teach you. So we come back to the notes, I read again, then you understand. So number 5 at the end, the third line. Those mental activities are often likened to dust on the mirror of our true mind. So the sutta exhorts us to make a commitment to purifying our mind, means develop the wisdom to understand that the true mind or the pure awareness nature is just a nature, it's not a being, and it has nothing inside there, where it's unconditioned. That's why Hui Neng, he already realized that. That's why he said, 本来无一物，何处惹尘埃? That's how he tear apart sensuous poem. And he started off with the first stanza beautifully also. He tear out every stanza of sensual. 菩提本无树, the first stanza. Means what? Puti is Bodhi, which is wisdom. Has nothing to do with the Bodhi tree, you understand? It's just because the Bodhi tree is the tree that the Buddha sat underneath and make him enlightened, they give it a name, Bodhi tree. So the real Bodhi that the Buddha realized is not that tree, you understand? That's why Bodhi, Puti, Pen Wu Su. Then 明镜亦非台. The mirror bright on a stand is not the true mind. That's why that is the mundane condition arising mind. So 明镜亦非台, that is not the true mind. Then 本来无一物, then he described the true mind's characteristic. It's just a pure awareness nature, nothing inside there. Then where can the dust arise? Where you created that dust, that duality. If you don't create, like the Buddha say, imas means sati, idang hoti. When this arise, that arise. Then imas means asati. When this ceases, idang nahoti, that also ceases. Means duality is a pair created through delusion by the mundane thinking. When you give meaning to any phenomena you observe within the phenomenal world of consciousness, if you don't have wisdom, then it will manifest that duality. Then once you create one side of the duality, the other side automatically manifests. Then you want to clean or do away with or root it out. How can you root out something that you create through your own mundane delusion? Well, when this one is there, that one will automatically be there. So you cannot just root out the duality that you create. You must understand, it started with this, the condition for it to arise. When this one ceases, that one also ceases. Understand not? There is dependent originating. Condition arising, cause of phenomenon. So if you don't create, then there is nothing. That's why originally there is nothing. 本来无一物 means anatta nature, empty nature, no reality at all. Whatever arises, there are causes and conditions behind. It's just like one of my teachers say, mighty nature rolling by, following nature's law, nature's movement. He know you, he know me, no being, nothing. The whole of existence is a manifestation from the pure awareness nature, from the true mind or the true nature within. And this understanding is very profound. Unless you realize, really silence your mind, you cannot realize that. Okay? So we go back. We go to the last part. Okay, the sixth one. The sixth is that in order to teach others, and this one is very important, the real one that can teach, we must not only realize the true nature of our mind, but also learn the various skillful means necessary to help others along the path. The provisional teaching make use of skillful means to bring people to the Dhamma. Means you must go the Bodhisattva way, understand or not? Means you must take the Supreme Vehicle training. So the Supreme Vehicle teaching is a complete training that trains the Bodhisattva from the initial phase of enlightenment via the sainthood way, even after arahantaship, until you complete the perfection of the 10 perfection, to realize all the extensive manifestation, possibility of existence and cultivation. Then from there, you develop all the wisdom, perfection of wisdom, prajna paramita, to understand all the provisional teachings that uses the what they call skillful means to train living beings, to lead them to the essential basic Dhamma, to realize the sainthood way, before introducing the Supreme Vehicle teaching, the higher teaching, to perfect themselves. So this is the reason, the sixth reason why this Surangama Sutra is being taught or proclaimed by the Buddha, and is so important, so powerful. And the key, essential prerequisite to develop this understanding is to distinguish between the two minds, the true mind and the mundane condition arising, false thinking mind or heedless thinking mind. It's like Bodhidhamma when he went over to China to teach. Then when the monks that encountered him at first looked down upon him, then until that incident where all of them went in to meditate, then finally they realized he was so wise. Then they asked him, how can they develop this understanding? His opening statement is very powerful. He said, in order to cultivate, you must start with one very important understanding. Sinh Wei根本means if you don't even understand your mind, the foundation of meditation and wisdom, how can you start? If you can't even know that you have two minds, then how can you understand who are you, what are you? That's why the realization of who are you, what are you, is self-knowledge. And that self, which is mainly the five aggregate of form and mind, is empty, false, unreal, not you. You must see that. That one is a manifestation, condition arising entity, not a permanent, unchanging entity. So don't be deceived and deluded by it. And this is fundamental. Okay? Okay, we move on. So now hopefully as we go in, more and more Kayamita can develop the more deep and penetrative understanding of the true mind, and see clearly the manifestation of the mundane thinking mind. Before the Dhamma is there, before the wisdom arises and stabilizes, this mind discriminate and create a lot of duality that entangle living being. This mind is so conditioned, and with the conditioned views, opinion, belief system, everything, then the accumulated phobia, whatever, it will condition sakkayaditthi, delusion. So once you see all this clearly, until that nature awakens, then it will not be deceived by the phenomenal world of consciousness anymore, by this creation process anymore, that it will stay with the true mind all the time. That's why ever mindful, constantly meditative. Then you know clearly the difference between heedfulness and heedlessness. The delusion that conditioned living being to be afflicted within samsara very clearly. Then after that, you can never be deceived. Then you perfect the cultivation until you realize what they call higher teaching, enlightenment and awakening, until you become a great being. Then all your future coming through the karmic process, the form and mind that have a beautiful spiritual nature and a karmic nature, that will transform the bodhisattva that come with the understanding to live life and do the work of a Sammasambuddha, or what we call the great beings, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, Puxian Wensu, Tizangwang. These are the great beings that constantly develop what they call vow, enhance it to help living beings, to take across a lot of living beings that have affinity with their nature. Of course, they can become Sammasambuddha, but they choose to stay within samsara. That's why their nature is very unique. So when you are able to develop all this, means the form and mind that come and take rebirth, which is not you, can actually live life. 真空妙有. Okay, we move on. Next part. Part 7. Correspondence of teachings in the sutta to schools of Mahayana. These are also quite interesting. Now we will read on. Several of the essential Mahayana teachings presented in the Surangama Sutra were later systematized by specific school. Knowledge of this school can therefore be useful in gaining a clearer understanding of the teachings of this sutta, particularly when the sutta alludes to a teaching but does not explain it in detail. So this is a very important understanding, because after the six patriarchs, you remember, Mahayana teaching break into the 5 petals. You remember? The various schools, they start to come out. And later on you will understand, a lot of these later schools, each and every year of this school, they actually only take one of the teaching. I read on, then you will understand. Knowledge of this school can therefore be useful in gaining a clearer understanding of the teaching of the sutta, means the Surangama Sutra, Lengyang, particularly when the sutra alludes to a teaching but does not explain it in detail, because they themselves also cannot understand. Maybe only the founder find it very interesting and very profound, and then they adopted it for their school. For this reason, a brief summary is given here of some of the relevant teachings of the consciousness school. So this one is the Yogacara school. So this consciousness school is one of them. Then the other one is the metric of the Taskamwan, Tathagata Gaba. This one is about the Tathagata Gaba, means the matrix of the Taskamwan, means about Sammasambuddha Hulun. Then there are other esoteric teachings. So first we will discuss the consciousness only school. So this is the one that came out with the Mahayana 8 consciousness and the 9 consciousness and all those things. Because they find it so interesting, and as if it's very, very esoteric and all those things, very complicated, I'll say. But basically, like I explained, the 8 types of consciousness and the 9 consciousness, they are not apart from the 5 aggregates of form and mind and Nibbana. So although the 8 consciousness doctrine of the consciousness only school of Mahayana is not explicitly taught in the Surangama Sutra, traditional commentators have found this doctrine to be useful in explaining the meaning of the text. That's why they adopted it. The consciousness only school described the mind as a system of 7 active consciousness. Yeah. So this one, they term it as Vijnanam, all of which develop out of an 8 consciousness, which they call the storehouse consciousness. The latter is passive and contain the potential or seed for the development and activity of the first 7 consciousness, which I have taught you all before. So the 7 consciousness, or individuating or discriminatory consciousness, which has the mana inside there, contains the inner sense of self, the ego. The 6th consciousness consists or contains the learned sense of self, means through perception, and is a perceptual, not perpetual. Yeah, no wonder I find the word right now connected. And it is a perceptual, means perception, and cognitive process center. That's why the 6th consciousness is your perception. It makes distinction among the data sent to it from the first 5 basic sense consciousness, which are the perceptual awareness of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. Then the 6th consciousness, which is perception, also make distinction about cognitive objects such as thought and emotion. That discriminative consciousness is the 7th consciousness. Once the 7 consciousness have emanated out of the 8 consciousness, they are usually experienced as separate and distinct. But this faculty remains fundamentally one. Actually, it's only one movement. So the 8 consciousness account for the full range of mental process or processes. In this system, there is no need for a notion of a self or a real, permanent, unchanging entity which they call self, or of a real, permanent, external and internal phenomena. All actual and potential rhyme of experience are shown to be contained within the transformation of consciousness. They appear as manifestation of the distinction or discriminative making mind. What truly exists is consciousness only. There is the purified 8 consciousness. Nevertheless, because of our attachment to and belief in the reality of the self and in the reality of the phenomena that we perceive and understand to be the external phenomena world, the true nature of the world and of ourselves is obscure, so much so that we are entirely unaware of it. So this part is to explain to you clearly how they actually manifest. So they explain it in a way which I have taught you all before. As a human being, we have the 5 basic senses. So initially, the first 5 types of basic senses is your seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, smell, taste, tactile. Then perception bring in the external form. Okay? So this external form is actually perceived through what? Through the aggregate of sanya, which is perception. So the 6th consciousness is actually sanya, or perception. So this one brings in the external form. So what happens is, this one brings in the external sense data. So this one is called sense data or external form. So like the physics experiment, what happens is, this external form, which is the sixth consciousness, then the seventh consciousness becomes the organ. This one is the one that creates discrimination. So this one is also called the discriminative consciousness. So this one makes discrimination, concoction. Then number 8 is the resulting one. So this one is the thought, or sometimes they call it the alaya consciousness or the 8 consciousness. So this is the thought. So what happened is, the sense data came in, and this one, which is your discriminative consciousness, or we call it the 7 consciousness, and this one is basically our sankhara. I better put in red, so that you can understand. So this one is sankhara. Just like sankhara is the 7 consciousness. This sankhara is our mundane mind, our thinking mind. This one is the one that has the views, opinion, conditioning, belief system, the sakkayaditi, the atta, everything, even your phobia, whatever. This one has it because of the accumulated memory, knowledge. From here, it discriminates and creates thought consciousness. Then this one has moral and immoral. That's why in the Abhidhamma, they say, this one, they have 2 types, moral and immoral. Means kusala citta and akusala citta. And this is how basically they define the 6, 7, and 8 consciousness. And this 8 consciousness, alaya, is actually your vijnana aggregate with its content. That's why it becomes the thought. Understand or not? The vijnana, which is a receptacle and its content, go in, it becomes the thought. So when you understand the basic essential Dhamma of the Theravada tradition, you can understand the Mahayana consciousness school only type of teaching. So it's nothing really complicated. Okay, we go back. So we finish the consciousness only school. Then the metric of the task come one. This one is more deep, more profound. This teaching focuses on the nature of ultimate reality and the potential that all beings have to awaken to that reality, means to be a Sammasambuddha. Through correct Buddhist practice or cultivation, we can bring forth from our spiritual womb the embryonic Buddha that is founded within every sentient being. The 8 consciousness described in the Yogananda doctrine are considered to be real only provisionally. Ultimately, they are illusionary, as the Buddha explained in part 3. Our world of illusion arises from the Tathagata Gaba, the matrix of the task of one. Other equivalent terms include the Buddha nature, the Dhamma body, or the true mind, or the original mind, or 本来的面目. Sometimes they use the word the source, original nature, all those things. So this essential spiritual reality is inherent in all being, and the work of spiritual practice is to remove the dross of illusion that covers it. The matrix of the Taskawan school emphasizes the presence of this spiritual essence in all sentient beings. And from this arose the emphasis on, that's why they go and complicate things by introducing all this vegetarianism which appear in this sutta in part 7. Then in part 4, the Buddha explained how the illusionary world of mental and physical phenomena of me, you, and things comes to appear from the first phenomena of first appearance or ignorance in the enlightened mind. This explanation, which is consonant with the Tathagata Garbha teaching, is not meant to be historical or temporal. It is more an exposition of the layers of our... read the notes. Tathagata Garbha literally means the womb of the task come one, the ultimate reality from which all appearances spring. Yeah. The English word matrix is used here in its proper meaning of womb, and that which gives form, origin, or foundation to everything else, or embedded in it. Move on. Experience or awareness. The implication is that we are living on the surface of our consciousness. What we are actually aware of is merely the surface of a deeper mind or potential consciousness, even though it may be entirely content to live on that surface. We have the potential to deepen our awareness. Buddhist practice is concerned with this deepening, which involves a reversal of the direction of our awareness away from the illusory world and towards our true mind or original mind, which is identical to the mind of our Buddha. So this one is basically explaining the Tathagata Garbha. What is a Tathagata Garbha? It's about the source. Where from here all things arise. So they also knew every living being. Yeah? Basically, we are Buddha. We have a Buddha nature within. But to unfold this, you need to remove all the delusion. That's why sainthood way, from here you go through the mindfulness, especially first and second stage of enlightenment, means Sotapanna and Sakadagami. You don't really need to locate the gateway to your nature. That's why they say, what living being experience is just the surface of awareness. That's why you develop the ability to be conscious. We are conscious beings. We can be conscious of what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we tactily feel and think. Means through the aggregates of mind. And these are mundane, superficial consciousness. That's why we call it the conscious mind, conscious thinking. But when the mundane thinking mind ceases, then you realize the true mind, which is the pure awareness. But this one, if you don't go the Bodhisattva way, you cannot locate the gateway, you cannot understand this cultivation, which is the supreme vehicle cultivation, or the Bodhisattva way cultivation. That if you cannot understand this, you cannot realize the Tathagata Garbha teaching. That is what it is trying to tell you. So this part, very few people can teach, or even dare to teach. Yeah. Where this part, you need to really locate the gateway through the fourth support to realize the gateway, to let the pure awareness, pure energy go in and transform the internal movement that leads to the collapse of the mundane mind, to realize the true nature, the pure awareness nature, so that this one shine forth. Then this pure awareness nature is not obscured by this mundane mind, mundane thinking. Then this supramundane mind, which is the pure awareness, fine aggregate, non-grasping because of the wisdom, this one will live life, which is completely different. And this part, which involves the Tathagata Garbha teaching or training, is seldom understood or taught. Okay, then the third part. The esoteric teaching, also known as the Buddhist Tantra or Vajrayana include various methodology of meditation and other practices that are often privately transmitted from teacher to disciple in formal transmission or empowerment ritual. They include the recitation of mantras, sometimes in coordination with mudra, means ritual disposition of the hand and the use of ritual implements, and also teaching about the visualization of deities, the ritual creations of sacred space or way place, mandala, and the making of elaborate offerings. The central chapter of the Surangama Sutra, part 8, describes certain of the practices in detail. Moral purity is an essential prerequisite for all of the esoteric practices or cultivation, as is the case of all Buddhist cultivation or practices. And the sutta contains strong warning about the danger of moral impurity, which became widespread in many of the early Indian Buddhist tantric circle. That's why sometimes you hear of this teaching, the Tantra teaching. Since that time, failure to recognize the necessity of moral purity has been a frequent pitfall for a significant number of teachers and students of the esoteric teaching, both in Asia and in the West. Okay, we stop here. 4:30 already. I just mark this page. So as usual, remember the 4 support to develop the pure awareness nature. And for those who still need the skillful means, or what we call method or technique, or even various skillful means to develop the training of sati, then stabilizing it, you can also use it, especially mind sweeping method followed by metta. Then you just silence your mind. Ultimately you come back to the 4 support. Okay, so I will set the alarm for 45 minutes. Then you all can have your pure awareness based meditation. Okay. You all can slowly, mindfully come out of the meditation. Try to maintain whatever inner peace, inner calmness, and inner awareness that you have developed for as long as you can. We will continue your second session, which is meditation reporting, followed by whatever question that you may have. And we can also discuss on today's topic, the sharing, or any Dhamma in daily life experience that you may have.
Good afternoon, Radio Mr. Steele.
Yes.
And all Kalyamitas. Thank you, Sister Waifan, for nominating me.
Sadhu.
Maybe I'll express my gratitude to Radio, especially on the 9/11, 11th of September Thursday class sharing.
Sadhu.
The 3 sets of 6.
That one very good.
The 18 sense RAM. It's very, very well and very detailed.
Very comprehensive.
Explained. On all the 3 sets of 6, the 6 types of sense organs, 6 sense bases, 6 sense data, and 6 respective sense consciousness. And especially what strike on this, the words that Brother Teo said is due to our wrong perception, our Sakaya Ditti, the self-delusion on perceiving the various types of worldly data or whatever consciousness that come to us.
Yes.
What is that?
Grasp and cling on to them, give meaning.
We see the unreal as real.
As real, yes.
We perceive,
permanent as impermanent, yes.
We perceive the unreal as real.
Yeah.
This unreal as real.
Yes, very beautiful.
Words, very beautiful, very striking to me.
Sadhu, yeah.
Because I deeply felt that I have been deceived and cheated by this wrong perception.
Correct.
And due to my own views, opinions,
conditioning, belief system, all those things.
Yes.
Yeah. Because this is how living beings know the world.
Yes.
Come into contact with the world and how we interact with the world. Then all this that manifests through consciousness are mind-make anasana, dependent originating, like the physics experiment. Moment to moment, arise and pass away. If there is no mundane mind that is deluded and with the discrimination born of wrong view, you will not be deceived. You will not give meaning. You will not cling. You will not grow. But that is the tendency of living beings. To them, it's so real. And it's like, how can this be unreal? But that is the basis of living life. The consciousness that manifests through their seeing, conscious, hearing, smell, taste, tactile, and thought process are so real. That's why I use the word enticing. Then the other one is luring. It's so enticing and luring. Then when you do not have the Dhamma understanding and the wisdom, it actually causes affliction in you and causes suffering in living beings. That's why I say it's a very chaotic, phenomenal world of consciousness. Because all these are manifestations, mind-made through nature's law, like the physics experiment. Upon contact, consciousness arise, then you grasp, cling through the seven consciousness, you create discrimination, you stir your mind, you react. Then you grasp onto it, taking the unreal as real, and you can be so easily afflicted, become so emotional, so frightened, so full of fear, worry, anxiety, sorrow, and lamentation. That's why when you understand that, then you understand why the Buddha say living beings are full of ignorance, sakkayaditi. In fact, very, very foolish. Because they cannot see, they just cannot see. And even you have the understanding and you try to explain to them, they won't believe you. That's why life, existence is not what the individual perceive it to be. Well, every one of us, at every instant, every moment, the apparent reality that one perceives is so different. They may be at that moment lost in thought, within the cocoon of thought, maybe daydreaming, heedless and all those things. But to them, it's so real. They are caught in it. Even when they sleep, the consciousness inside, subconscious release, unconscious release, the fear, the phobia, everything just came out. Because these are the trapped consciousness, the phobia, the fear, the worry, the anxiety, the deep resentment. All this, they manifest through consciousness. And they are accumulated through our brain, our memory. That's why when you are observant, mindful, you observe the newborn baby, the various stages. You can see they are not like human being who has the senses so, I wouldn't say well developed or fully developed. They are so conditioned. The human being that has gone through existence and life. Whereas the newborn baby is so innocent, so naive. And without memory, they are so cute. Then they respond naturally. Then as they learn, as they develop the conditioning from life, society, education, everything, the parents or whoever who look after them or raise them, then they develop all the bad habits, the wrong view, the cunningness, the greed, the selfishness. Then all this continue to manifest and evolve. And as a living being, if you have gone through life, you have the awareness and the Dhamma understanding, then you reflect back. Exactly like what Eng Bee come to realize, which is very good. But if you have not contemplated, if your wisdom has not stabilized, these three words, real as unreal, the unreal as real, will not strike you, will not have much meaning. But when she listens attentively, that one like awaken in the sense that all these are the reality that manifests, but the form and mind of living being, before she has the wisdom, they cannot understand, they cannot see, and we give meaning, we grasp, we cling, we hold. That's why, what is reality? Whatever manifests is mind-made consciousness. These are the apparent reality that each and every individual manifests. Before you have the Dhamma understanding and wisdom, they appear to be very real. So we take all this unreal as real. And that's how living beings entangle themselves. That's how affliction, suffering, misery, emotion manifests. That's why sankhara, anicca. But if you give meaning, you grasp, cling, and want things your way, sankhara, dukkha. And that's how you will see that very clearly. That all these sankhara, like the Buddha say, they arise and they pass away. Dependent originating, condition arising, causal phenomena. They follow nature's law. And they are all mind-made. That's why mind-made are they. That's why that mundane mind that stir from the pure awareness nature, that is the creative mind, that is the thinking mind. That's why that becomes the forerunner of all things. And that mind is chief. When mind arises, all existence arises. That's why all things arise. Everything within existence arises. Just to you, that is what is manifested, but you grasp, you cling, and you give meaning. Like the cinema show, I give example. End of the day, when the show ends, when the lights all like come, it's a blank screen, nothing. But the phenomena created by the cinema, through all the various sight and sound and lighting play, they are causes and conditions for their arising. And when the cinema show goes on, it's so real to the audience. And a lot of people can become so engrossed with what manifests through your seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, and mental reaction and stirring. Then all your mental movement activity, if you have mindfulness, if you are aware most of the time, you can pause and see all this movement. Then you have the understanding to actually rejoice that when you understand this, it has no power over you. Then you can live life, you can experience it, you can even actually give it all the attention and understanding, and marvel at how certain director who directed the show can actually produce such good movies. So all these are possible, but you know it's not a reality. But like I always explain, there is such thing as life, there is such thing as existence. And this is very important, because when you can experience all this pristine beauty and wonders that manifest from the pure awareness nature, and when civilization evolve, all this become possible. Even technological advancement and a lot of things that have make our life so much better. And because of progress, now our society has become so different. But of course, like any other thing, whatever that manifests, it will create its own evolution and movement. So a lot of good thing, better thing may arise, but there are also a lot of things that living beings still don't understand that can complicate matter and bring about suffering and misery. Because it's just a condition arising phenomenon within the phenomenal world. And through consciousness, it evolves, it moves, it creates the what they call transformation of society, consciousness, and evolution of life and existence. So all this, as you develop more and more clarity and understanding, then you become different. The so-called you is the form of mind, which is not a permanent, unchanging entity. But that one can understand life, can live life, because with that wisdom developed, it will no longer be deceived and deluded by the phenomenal world, by what manifests at the 18th sense rhyme, by your senses, the creation created through your sense door, consciousness and activity. Then how this mundane mind actually develop all the delusion, misery and all the movement, you see it clearly. It's like you are the one with the awareness that can be aware of all this, and nobody can make you miserable anymore. And the mundane mind is so beautiful, and it's no longer subject to the nature's law of karma and all those things. Of course, the karmic process is still there. The karmic nature is still there. The spiritual nature is still there. But because of the wisdom, it does not suffer anymore. And that evolution part is the perfection part that will continue to perfect the karmic nature, leading to the perfection of also the spiritual nature, that lead to the final awakening as a Sammasambuddha. But initially is you become a great being first. Then when you become a great being, during that time, that process, the coming is so different, so beautiful, and you will choose to come all the time. And that choose is your understanding of the process of creation. Understand? It's not a being that choose, but it is the wonder of life and existence. That's why when you realize true emptiness, 真空妙有, that is the meaning. When you have penetrated all this with the wisdom and understanding, then life become meaningful, become really wonderful, amazingly wonderful. And you can live life to the fullest. Get to experience all of the pristine wonders of life, and all the beautiful, wonderful manifestations that arise within nature. That's why every moment, every instant, everything is so beautiful, so pristine, so meaningful. And every consciousness is like very, very uniquely wonderful. Then through this process, the being that has the wisdom and the 5 degree of form and mind that has been transformed can live life. That's why we call it the Pativeda, the third phase of Dhamma. And the main intent and purpose of cultivation, developing or the awakening, is to be free from suffering and to have this understanding and wisdom to really live life, experience life. and go through all this. That's why the whole thing is not really complicated and difficult to comprehend. But once you develop the correct meditation, the true meditation, first is to realize the true mind, the silent mind. Then continue with that process. Locate the gateway to trust. Continue with the internal transformation via trust, the pure energy. Then that thing continue to, from the second circle, pure awareness, it goes in. Until that whole training, like what the Tathagata Gaba teach, there is the movement from this pure awareness nature, your true mind, that process to actually transform and develop all the penetrative wisdom and understanding to understand what this nature is within. Because this nature is full of mystery, where thought cannot touch, where there is no knowledge, nothing, but is capable of great wisdom and awakening. And this one actually is the source of all things. Where from here all things arise. The first to arise is a pure awareness nature. Then this one create. That's why the whole universe, which is so immense and so sophisticated, actually came from this. So the knowledge or wisdom that one developed through the cultivation, through the force support, which is trust, to penetrate this is very, very important and very beautiful. And this is the part that few living beings can even understand or attempt or journey into. To come to this stage is not easy. Even to understand that there are two minds, that beginning, the basic understanding of mind, which is the very prerequisite for correct cultivation or right cultivation, that itself is very difficult. But to do that, you have to go beyond thought. You cannot use thought. Thought-based can never take you there. That's why you need to relax, maintain awareness, and stabilize that pure awareness, so that that nature which is without thought but born of a free mind can be realized. And that realization is very important. And that is a beginning, a yet very, very important penetration. Once you understand that, then wisdom starts to arise. Then you start to understand clearly self-knowledge. Who are you? What are you? How this process come about. Then the 18th sense right that Eng Bee come to appreciate and share just now. You keep on seeing. Then you keep on understanding the unreality. Like I teach you all in the early days. You learn to see form, the unreality of form. Then only you can see beyond form. Then you learn to see mind, the unreality of mind. Where mind make a day, mundane manifestation through nature's law. Then only you can see beyond mind. When you see beyond form and mind, you see the pure awareness nature. And this nature is no different from every living being has this. But because people cannot realize this, cannot penetrate this beyond thought, beyond mind, they don't know that there is another meditative process that takes you in. That's why the internal transformation within our nature. That's why the Buddha said, within this phantom lamp body, I proclaim the world, the cause of the arising of the world, the cessation of the world, and the path that leads to this. Means the whole of secret of life, truth, Four Noble Truth, can be realized within the phantom lamp body. That's why you need the form and mind to come to this existential world. And to do this, you need a karmic nature. Then when you cultivate, you develop the spiritual nature. And these two, very few people understand. Yeah. Even if you understand, you may not have the correct teacher or guide to teach you because the whole process appears very simple when you understand. But if you don't have a real guide who has gone through to teach you or to show you the way, I can tell you, you cannot find this way. That's why very rare this type of true Dhamma, the true teaching, the profound teaching. Because even to break free from thought-based meditation is already so difficult. To see the unreality of the 18th sense drive, the manifestation of mind leading to the phenomenal world of consciousness, is a great miss. A myth, M-Y-T-H. It's very difficult to comprehend. And you tell people this is all mind-made, not real, they say you must be crazy. Okay, Eng Bee, you better continue. Very good. Sadhu.
Yeah, from there, I reflect on all most of the conflicts or misunderstanding arise between humans, between relationships. They're all due to this wrong
views and other things.
Wrong view of
the individual perception.
The ideology. Yes. So then another thing comes up is like Brother Teo always tell us only wisdom free.
Only wisdom. Nothing else.
Only wisdom can let us understand.
If you don't have the wisdom to perceive the unreality, so that you finally realize, think also like that, don't think also like that. Well, hey no you, hey no me, understand now? There is no living being. That's why the three great hallmark of awakening is so powerful. No thought, take you to the true mind. Then no mark, means what? No mark of a self, no mark of living being, no mark of life, existence, no Dhamma also. Then only that mind that has this wisdom and understanding create the very fine vibration or transformation until the true mind's pure awareness nature, that wisdom is so pure and the vibration becomes so fine, the mundane mind collapses. After the mundane mind collapses, then the third hallmark of awakening will arise. Wu Zhu. Then it cannot dwell already. It's not only non-grasping, no. It on its own, it cannot dwell anywhere. It see clearly, it understand clearly the unreality, no mark, no being, hey no you, hey no me. Everything has been penetrated. That's why this mind is a supra-mundane mind. Without the mundane thinking, the gross mundane mind to cloud it, it see clearly, it penetrates the truth. And it awakens. And the awakening is so different from the sainthood way. Very penetrative. That's why this process which you are slowly going through is very, very beautiful. And it may take a while, but beautiful. But as you penetrate, as you contemplate and develop the understanding which you were, then all this understanding, when you already, this life, you remember this life, when you understand and appreciate, you must make adhitan, affirmation, that this understanding, you vow, silence all your merits and perfection and cultivation, you vow to have this understanding life after life whenever you arise as a form of mind. Whether you choose to come or you have to come, you vow. Then it will go into the nature's law. Then every life you come, your cultivation is automatic. Because this bodhi mind that is planted and the vow that is planted, it will generate the causes and conditions for you to actually return to your understanding very fast, to connect very fast. And this is the fastest way to do the cultivation, the perfection, until Samma Sambuddhahood. If you don't vow, every of this, what they call coming into the existential world, because the sasana window is very short. When sasana no more, the form and mind that take birth, actually you don't really stand a chance unless you are one of the great beings and you have developed all this cultivation until very stable. Then when the sasana return, they also will become very different. But for us, what Maitreya's nature wanted me to share this segmented life is this understanding of cultivation, which is very unique. To cut short the training and develop the perpetual understanding through all this understanding. That's why he asked me to do two things. Teach the true Dhamma. Then, the unique Bodhisattva way which by nature realized. That's why from these two, this is what the sharing is all about. As you develop the understanding and cultivation, you will appreciate more and more. Then you will realize that what has happened over the 20 plus years, coming to 21 years of sharing, has actually evolved until what it is today, which is very, very rare. Especially after we moved to Padmasuri's house. Then this whiteboard structure, so different from Sui An's place. You remember Sui An there, all the basic essentials. This one is the Bodhisattva way, the four-circle formation, the creation. That's why when you understand the teaching center around a few things only, you must penetrate this. And I have been repeating in various different form and different format of all this sharing. That's why I maintain this essential, I won't call this the essential Dhamma, this essential understanding of the Bodhisattva way. Karmic nature, spiritual nature. In the early day, I seldom explained much. I only wrote it. Now, this tie to the four-circle formation. That's why I call it the stages of creation. The four-circle formation, stages of creation. Then we are discussing Surangama Sutra. Then how from the source? The first thing to come out is the pure awareness nature. Then how from this pure awareness nature we manifest as the Mano that created the five aggregate of form and mind. Initially as a simple consciousness, very basic, but it evolve, then it starts to crystallize and take form like what the Surangama Sutra, until you become a living being. Then this one, through the senses, manifests the phenomenal world of consciousness. And this is why, where I call it existential world, conditioned world, or phenomenal world of consciousness, PWC. This is where everything centered and arises. That's why it is chaotic, luring, enticing. And this is the one that can create a lot of delusion within living beings. And they grasp, they cling, and they hope. Yeah, it's so luring, enticing. It can make your thought believe a lot of things. And there are a lot of so-called teaching in the world that people simply cling on to. And that so-called what they hold on to as like their religion or their belief system or what we call rites and ritual, dogma and all those. A lot are being created through delusion, through avijja, to living beings' mind that don't have the wisdom and the awakening. And because of that, this process of samsara continue to evolve and manifest. Then when living beings through technology make a different decision to move forward in the name of civilization's progress and advancement, then this karmic process, the karmic conditioning, will also evolve and move. That's why now you see the being that come is different from the early 50s, 60s and all those things. Now they give the name of what? Generation XYZ, and after that Alpha. Now it's every 10 years now they create one now. But all the generation of being that come is so different now. You realize or not? Our father, parents' time and our time so different. Then now our kids' time is even more different. Then their kids, I tell you, even more sophisticated. And this is what this Dhamma, so-called Buddha's teaching, is capable of understanding and realizing. And we can understand the whole big picture, understand the evolution. We got no problem with religion and all that. This is part and parcel of existential world's reality. They manifest. That's why I always share with you all, remember, in the early days. I think Eng Bee must have heard it before. Duality exists within the existential. Here, there is Dhamma, there is duality, there is all the nonsense. That's why I say chaotic. But within the unconditioned, when you are here and you realize there is no such thing. Understand? No? Like the Heart Sutta say, no old age, no sickness, no death. No Dhamma also, no enlightenment also. No one born, no one sick, no one old. Because the reality is the conditioned world and the unconditioned world, the two types of Dhamma are different. But you have to understand both to understand life. Otherwise you cannot. Without this unconditioned Dhamma wisdom, you cannot live here. Understand? You will become miserable. You will become miserable. You will get entangled. But with both the understanding, then the Heart Sutta stands out. True emptiness, when you realize, is wonderful existence manifest. Or then the whole clear picture is shown. Meaning of life. You can really live life. Although not so real, moment to moment it arises and passes away. But there is such thing as existence, life. And it can be wonderful existence. And the third phase of Dhamma, moment to moment, the form and mind that arise can actually experience it, can live it, can develop the movement, the evolution through the Dhamma understanding, which is so beautiful and so pure, pristine, as compared to the chaotic phenomenal world. So all these are new field that cultivator doesn't understand. Where enlightenment is not just awakening, free from suffering. No, that is just the sainthood way, no more rebirth. It's just a small aspect of cultivation. The real one is penetrative. You understand both the real and the unreal. Understand? And this unreal is already so complex, so complicated, so sophisticated. To even understand it and penetrate it is a great achievement for cultivator of the way. But after that, to penetrate this pure awareness nature, to realize the source is even more wonderful. That's why the Supreme Vehicle way is really, really wonderful. And my teacher used to share, one of my teachers, he said, yeah, the Supreme Vehicle Bodhisattva way may be very long, but it's very rewarding. Understand? The word is rewarding. Actually, not so real, but there is such thing as the manifestation of existence. And this existence, even though unreal, moment to moment, but you must know how to develop the wisdom to understand the process, how this so-called karmic nature can generate the form and mind. Then how the existing spiritual nature combined can develop the wonderful existence. Then the training can be cut short. Like this life, when I was very young, I already knew I was different. Then as I grew up, a lot of things that are like signs that tell my nature that I was not usual, not normal. And I know all this manifests because of past causes and conditions. Then when I reached the age of 17, at that time I remember I was in Form 4 or Form 5, I forgot already. I think Form 5. Yeah. This nature started to probe. It looked at the sky, looked at the universe, then asked, who am I? What am I? What am I doing here? Yeah. And it just probed like that. And then deep inside the answer come out. You must meditate to understand. That time I don't even know what really meditation is. But straight away I got faith. Yeah, must meditate. That's it. Finished. Then when I was in Form 6, I received the book. The first edition of the Chief Reverend's book, What Buddhists Believe. Then I saw the Four Noble Truths. The moment I saw, how can my nature at that age, maybe 18 years old or 19 years old, understand that is the secret of life. And the Four Noble Truths, like to me, is so clear, and I got no doubt. Whoever can come out with this is a real one. But this is the whole of life, secret of life. When you understand the Four Noble Truths, you understand the mundane and super mundane aspect of life and existence. And from there, all cultivation and understanding can be understood and penetrated. So all this, they continue to manifest. Then after 1986, a lot of strange things happened. When Kuan Yin came with a message, not much time left, he said. He poured the triple gem on my hand. Then he said, you must move fast. That time I just full of faith, rejoice, pay my respect, gratitude. And from that moment, I cultivated full time. 86 to 89, that 3 years. My daily mindfulness stabilized until very, very stable. Then everything that manifests and follow after that was like meant to be. Then the teacher come, the guide come, the book come, everything come during that 3 years. Before that, hardly any. Then after 1989, after my last guide left, until today, no more guide, no more teacher. How you explain that? In fact, my last guide actually told me this. He said, do you remember? When there is no earthly teacher, they will send one from the up there, the astral, to come and guide you and teach you. Then 20 over years later, he met me again. Then the first thing he asked me, he held my hand. He said, did anyone come? I said, until today, no one come. He laughed. He laughed. That's why all this, you cannot explain. And a lot of things within existence, life, and nature, you must know how to adhitan. It's possible. What type of existence, what type of evolution or consciousness or life, you can actually make the adhitan to allow it to manifest. And my nature knew I perfected that so-called perfection very, very early. And because of that, I know how to come. And I choose to come. And I always come during transition period, where I can see the most. That's why I keep on telling you, this is the golden age. You remember? Now I'm only 71 plus now, coming to 72. But over this, I was born in the 50s. The 50, the 60, we were so backward now. Even the 70s, our civilization, our planet Earth, we are still not really developed. But the 80s onward, I graduated in 79. 80, 90, 20, then 2010 and 2020 onward. These 5 or 6 decades, I tell you, is the golden era. You can never imagine how you get to live this type of life that is so full of what they call beauty and wonders. Every decade is different now. Now every year is different now. With the advance of science, technology, AI, everything. And you get to actually experience all this. Normally one life, you cannot get this type of thing. Because if you look back, this civilization, our Earth, the recorded one is only 5,000 plus years. Understand? You read history, you will know. The Ganges civilization, the Indus Valley, then the Yellow River, China, then River Nile over Middle East. Then also the Tigris and Euphrates, the early civilization. They are just 3,000 over BC. Understand? Before Christ. Then you add 2,000 plus. Total 5,000 plus. Just imagine. The first 5,000 over years of evolution, we are still so backward now. You realize or not? And there is nothing much. If you are born during that period, actually not easy. Life is not easy. But to be born during the last 70 to 80 years, this is really a beautiful, what they call golden era. You see so much thing, you witness so much thing, and you have the good karma. That means you can really live life and get to actually experience all this beauty and wonder within existence, which many of us as Kayamita who can afford, I think you get to live it. You get to not only travel or what, you get to actually witness a lot of this transformation, technology. Even your handphone is a marvel now. Not to say about computer. Now information is so fast, and all the media that you can receive, the data is so different. Okay, we better end. I let Eng Bee summarize.
We'd like to invite Brother to lead us in sharing merits of today's, especially Surangama Sutra. Thank you.
Okay. So let us rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, now we will do the sharing of merits. Akka sata cha pumata deva naga mahindika punyang tang anumoditwa chirang rakantu loka sasana ittavata camehi sampadan punya sampadan sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya idang menya tinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo idang menya tinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo idang menya tinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo devo asatukalena sasa sampati hetu cha fito bhavatu loko cha raja bhavatu dhammiko imina punyang kamena mame bhava samagamo satang samagamo hotu yawa nivana patiya sadhu sadhu sadhu. Okay, you can now pay respect mindfully to Lord Buddha, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, and all the worthy ones. Then we end. Sadhu.